Screen Blur.
Hello and welcome to Screen Slurps, the movie review podcast where we discuss the good, the bad, and the savage in the world of cinema. I'm Adam Meisner.
And I'm Laura Herlocker.
And this week we are talking all about the classic Bollywood film Sholay.
Sholay.
Sholay, ole, ole, ole. No, that's something else.
Yeah, I think Sholay means flames.
Does it now?
I feel like I read that somewhere, but maybe I should confirm that before I say it.
What
I
does
think
it mean?
so. I think so.
Does Sholay mean flames? You tell us, listeners. We did our homework, but
Obviously, as you can tell.
Sholay from 1975. I'm really excited to talk about this movie because, the movie had a lot of interesting elements to it. A lot of different genres really mixed into it, between romance, between drama, between action, crime. Everything is really bound into one film. And don't think I'm saying that like it's a short movie either, because I might as well at this point just say Bollywood equals 3 hours or more.
As it should be.
As it should be. Yeah, it's a long movie. But that doesn't also mean that it's good or bad. It could be either or. And we'll certainly talk all about what we think about this movie as we get into the review. But before we do that...
serious opening for us, I feel like.
Well, let me tell you what I think about this movie, I dare say. But before
I do declare.
I do declare. We already talked about that movie, didn't we?
I don't think we reviewed it. We just always bring up Daniel Craig and Knives Out, but I don't know if we actually did review it.
I'm pretty sure we did. Look back at the
well, we
the
don't
library.
even know what we do anymore.
Look back at the library of Screen Slurps episodes. Screen Slurps episodes. Before we talk all about Sholay, we're going to talk about the things we did this past week. That's right, our side slurps. And if you don't know what a side slurp is, well, then look at the Pokédex of Pokemon that exists. No, I'm just kidding.
I had a Pokédex when I was younger.
A real Pokédex?
Yeah, it was really cool. It was like a little handheld thing, and it had a screen where you could actually look through the different Pokemon and
They should
stuff.
still sell Pokédex.
I'm sure
stores.
you could get one.
Anyways, our side slurps are things we've done other than watching Sholay. Things like other TV shows that we've watched, other movies we watched, maybe even catching all of the Pokemon with our Pokédex. Laura, what have you been up to this past week?
I have a few little things on my list. I finished Assassin's Creed Valhalla, finally. There's some side questy things I could still be doing, but I finished the main quest. So that means that I am once again back to playing one of my favorite obsessions, which Adam likes to make fun of me for, and that is Genshin Impact.
Ridiculous.
It's such a fun game. I like it so much. I just got a bunch of new characters, so I'm excited. Got to level all those bad boys up. And for the longest time, so I stopped playing because I was at this boss battle against the Raiden Shogun, and I could not beat her, and it was making me mad. So I stopped playing, but I started again, and I finally beat her. Thank the heavens.
That's good news. Don't they level up in increments of 10 too?
The bosses?
No, the characters.
No, you can level up by one level, and then they ascend to the next. At every 10, then they ascend to the next level.
Yeah, I thought there was something that happened in increments of 10 in that game.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So once they get to level 50, you have to ascend them before you can level them up to 51.
Ah, okay.
However that works. But yeah, I really like Genshin Impact. So I'm excited. Actually, I'm probably missing it. They were doing a Twitch live stream. There's a new update coming up, and they were releasing it today. They were doing a live stream for it on Twitch. Oh, man, we're going to have to go look that up later. Oh. But other than that, I have been watching a few shows. So I just yesterday finished Minx on HBO Max. I think maybe I had mentioned this before. It's a great show. I like kind of set in the 60s, 70s, and it's about a woman who wants to start this feminist magazine. And the only way she can do that is to kind of work with a pornographer to create a magazine that, you know, has nude images of men, but like these feminist articles within it.
I remember you mentioning the first episode had a lot of penises shown in the first episode.
Yes, there, and throughout the season, there are quite a few penises that you see. But it was a good show. I wouldn't say it was great. It wasn't fantastic, but it was enjoyable to watch. Like, I definitely enjoyed finishing the season. So we'll see if that gets picks up for season 2. I think that'll be interesting. I also watched this show that another thing Adam gives me crap about. I am a weird person, all right? We already know that.
As if we didn't know this already.
I have a weird obsession with like ghost hunting shows and alien kind of things.
What a great combo. Ghosts and penises. This is the combo that we need to hear
I'm
all about.
I'm all over the place. But I'm trying to catch up on the new season that's coming out right now. There's a show on History Channel called The Secrets of Skinwalker Ranch. And
oh, no.
Adam always makes fun of me for watching this show, but I love this show. So Skinwalker Ranch is a ranch, obviously out in Utah, I believe, and it's like the Area 51 kind of the United States. Like, it's been on the radar for a really long time. There's always kind of supernatural things, you know, that are reportedly happening there. So it's just a TV show about the people that like own the ranch and work there, and them trying to do all these experiments to see like what is going on at the ranch. I love it.
But honestly, what is really going on at Skinwalker Ranch?
That's the question, Adam. They think maybe there's a portal, like aliens, and there's portals.
But is it honestly happening? That's the real question.
I don't know. You watch the show, there's some very weird things that they show.
That's like the argument with reality television when all of us, maybe not all of us, you don't have to be watching reality television, but many people watch reality television shows. And when you get done watching an episode of reality television, your first reaction may be, wow, I can't believe that just happened. And then after you watch enough reality television, then you start to think, or you may even realize, okay, that was all probably scripted.
Yeah.
None of that is probably real.
Obviously, there's parts that are... Here's my thing. This is my thing with ghost shows, too. Have I ever seen a ghost? No. But do I believe that people see things and that there could be ghosts? Yeah, probably. Like, same thing with aliens, right? I've never seen an alien. But, like, in my mind, I'm like, the universe is way too big and we are such a small part of it. It would be so, like, what's the word I want? Egotistical, I guess, to think that we are the only intelligent beings in this giant universe. You know, like, so if aliens came up, I would be like, or if they arrived, I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm not surprised. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
But at the same time, I'm not watching these shows being like, it's real. Like, oh my God, it was a ghost. Like, I get it. It's people seeing it and seeing what they want to see, right? And some of it may be fabricated. But that doesn't mean I still don't get a huge amount of enjoyment out of those shows.
Yeah. And from my experience, even working on a reality television show, I can honestly say that is every single ounce of it scripted? No. Not everything is made up. Not every single, step of the way
they sometimes
is scripted.
Push towards something, right?
Yeah, there may be something that the producer is thinking, okay, I would like something, in this direction to happen. But they are not going to the people that were chosen to be a part of the show and telling them, like, I need you to do this. I want you to do this.
They just kind of manipulate a little bit.
They chose those people to be on the show, and then it's those people that are on the show to do what they, what they want, really.
Yeah. No, but that's so... Secrets of Skinwalker Ranch on History Channel. Great show. Other than that, Adam and I have been watching Dexter. We're still in season 1. We're almost done, though. And I like it. I don't see what the big hype is. Like when Dexter was on, a decade ago, I feel like everyone was like, oh my God, Dexter's so good. Oh my God, Dexter. I'm watching it and I'm like, it's okay. But like I don't get why everyone was obsessed with it. But we are only in season 1. So I think I'm holding judgment until I get in like maybe season 2. Then I can kind of have a better frame of mind to make a judgment on it.
I think the show just continues to improve as we continue to watch it. And I think it will only get better and evolve. And, every show's different.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it continues to improve or evolve, as I've said.
Mm-hmm.
I think we'll see what happens.
I'm definitely getting more interested now that we know. I won't spoil too much, but like now that we know who the ice truck killer is, but like Dexter doesn't know who it is yet. Now I'm definitely more interested because I'm like, oh, what is he gonna do? Like how is he? What's gonna happen next? So it's getting better. It's getting better. It's just I'm not seeing the hype that there was for it, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
I think the hype comes with the characters' personalities, too. And it's hard to see that in just the first couple episodes of the show in season 1. But you continue to learn more and more about the characters as you continue to go down the road with the show. So it's nice to see that they keep improving on the characters as you keep watching and learn more and more about the characters and their history, their backgrounds.
Yeah, I think that's going to start to get me more attached, we'll say. And other than that, I think the only other thing, I've been going to yoga a lot lately, which I really like. I'm becoming one of those people that always talk about yoga, I guess. But I don't know, it's been really good. The class that I go to is at Move. It's called Move in Roscoe Village in Chicago. And it's great. It's 45 minutes of like yoga practice and then 15 minutes of meditation. And I do it at the end of the week. And honestly, I've found it is the best way to just like de-stress, close off my work week, and then I come to the weekend with such like a fresh and like relaxed state of mind. It's honestly, I'm kind of obsessed with it right now. And I feel like my body is getting stronger and more flexible, which also feels good. So.
And my mind just went to Britney Spears right there, just stronger
than yesterday. Oh my gosh, sorry. We should review Crossroads.
Well, that took us in a different direction.
Well, it's Britney Spears' movie. We'll have to watch that sometime. But, Adam dropped his phone again. Gonna break the phone. But that is it for me on the side slurps as Adam is chewing a hot Cheeto. On to you, Adam.
I had to get that wonderful taste in my mouth. Excuse me.
Of the hot Cheeto.
Flamin' Hot Cheetos are the greatest thing that was invented by Chester Cheetah. And he just knows what he's doing. You got to leave it up to the Flamin' Hot Cheetos out there. He's Chester Cheetah, but he looks like a jaguar. Anyways,
no, he looks like a cheetah.
I'll have to go pick up the Sega Genesis game that was made with Chester Cheetah. I used to play that all the time, actually. I used to rent the Chester Cheetah video game.
What kind of game was it?
You played as Chester Cheetah, and I don't know.
Was it like a platformer?
Yeah.
Or like Sonic?
Something to learn. No, not really Sonic. Like Chester Cheetah was a huge character walking around.
Oh.
So, very strange video game. Anyways, that is not what I've been doing this past week. I did that years ago. This past week, I was still playing Skyrim, and I can only emphasize this isn't a blip to promote Skyrim, I guess, but maybe it is because I started playing Skyrim when it first came out about 11 years ago and let it sit on my shelf to gather dust after I played it so much back then. Never even beat the game when I played it back then. And now I've picked it up again thinking, you know what? It's been a long time. Figure I'll give it a try again. And here I am again trying to beat the main campaign because I never beat it back then. And I'm doing the same thing I did back when I first played it, doing all the side quests, going back through the Mages Guild, going back through the Dark Brotherhood, going back through the Thieves Guild, and not even focusing on the main campaign. What is it with me? I don't have a good answer for that. It's just I can't focus on the main campaign because video game companies and developers, they focus on making all these side quests in their RPGs, and then when you start on the main campaign, that's your focus, but then you just get sidetracked. You're like, man, I want to do all these side quests.
Hot take. I think people that only do the main quest and ignore the side quests, there's something wrong with them. Like, I know that people that do that, I won't name names, but there's someone that will go, like, I know someone, and they will go through and only do like the main quest, and then once they beat it, they will like go back and do some side quests.
Yeah, and I guess you can do that, but I
Oh
think
my
a
gosh,
lot of the
no,
fun
that's crazy.
I think a lot of the fun in RPG games comes from doing these side quests
Yeah.
because you learn so much more about the video
Well, not
game and the
even that.
characters.
That's how you like level up. That's how you get cool weapons and
And then
like
you can beat the main
armor.
campaign super quickly.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think it's crazy not to do side quests.
And you find a lot of fun armor and weapons
Right.
through the side quests.
Also, my OCD does not like when there's lots of things in my like quest list, to-do list, you know? So when I just see all of those side quests sitting there, I'm like, I gotta get these done.
And in Skyrim, you pick up side quests in
Literally
2 seconds. Anyone you talk to,
You turn around and there's another side
there'll be a
quest.
chat option that comes up. You're talking to a shopkeeper. It'll just ask you, hey, have you heard any rumors lately? And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, yeah, there's a bandit in the mountains nearby. And all of a sudden,
Boop,
bum, bum.
new quest.
Yeah. So you pick up quests so easily in that game. But that's definitely something that has sucked me into. I was gonna say sucked me into Oblivion, but that's the previous game to Skyrim, so I can't say it sucked me into Oblivion. I'm playing
Oblivion.
Skyrim.
There's another Elder Scrolls.
Yeah, it can't. That was the one right before Skyrim.
Hmm.
So I'm excited to be playing Skyrim, and the developers for Skyrim, they're working on a new game right now that's going to be coming out after all of that. I believe they're working on Starfield, I think is their new game, which is basically, I think everyone's saying it's a No Man's Sky ripoff, but I'm not going to say that just yet. It does look a lot like No Man's Sky, but we'll see how Starfield plays out when the time comes. Other than Skyrim, as Laura was saying, we've been watching Dexter. I'm very excited to see how that show pans out as we continue to watch it. We're almost done with season 1, and when that's over, we'll have the scoop on all of that.
Scoop.
And other than Dexter and Skyrim, I've just been working on a lot of new music. I'm just happy to be playing more music now. I let that hobby rest for a while, but you know, I can't let too many things rest for too long. So I'm really happy to be jumping back onto recording some new ideas. I really want to get some music out soon, and I've just been taking notes and recording some songs and trying to just compile my thoughts and ideas together into something, and it just feels great to be getting the ideas together and just writing down thoughts and things, because that's the way you do it. That you just start with a concept and just keep building and building on it until you get the product out there. So I'm happy to be getting that going. And that is what I've been up to.
That's a wrap.
With that, no, it's not a wrap. Yeah.
Well, wrap on the side slurps.
We're done slurping, and now it's time to just drink it up, because what we'll be talking about now is Sholay, the film that we watched this past week. Bollywood, baby. Sholay from 1975. Laura, I love watching Bollywood movies, and I know you do too.
Oh, I'm obsessed.
And Sholay, this was a crazy movie for me to take in, and I say that let me just start by saying the general overview of this film, just the start of who is behind Sholay. Let's start with that. So the film was directed by Ramesh Sippy, written by Salim Javed, produced by G.P. Sippy, Ramesh's dad, I believe. And the film starred, I'll do my best to pronounce these names, the film starred Dharmendra. It also starred Sanjeev Kumar, Hema Malina, Amitabh Bachchan, Jaya Baduri, Amjad Khan, and many more. And I just want to put this out there. The runtime for this film, as we said earlier, many Bollywood films run around, 2.5 to 3 hours long. This film was, I put 204 minutes, but honestly, it's like
do your math in your head.
hours, yeah, 3 hours, 15 minutes or so.
Something like that.
Another thing I wanted to point out with this film, the budget was approximately $30 million, or it was $30 million. It was right around $30 million. And the box office numbers for this film ranged around $350 million in India. So, yeah, not a bad turnaround for Sholay.
No, I mean, the reason that we watched this movie. So as you said, Adam, we love Bollywood. But a lot of the Bollywood that we've been watching since we've been doing this podcast has been more recent things, like 2000s and to now, right? We haven't watched a lot from before then. A few, like some 90s. So maybe we'll say like 90s to now. But I really, really wanted to watch like a classic Bollywood, something older. And I had asked some of my friends, you know, like if I was to watch an older one, what should I watch? And literally every person told me Sholay. They're just like, Sholay is the one to watch. And, you know, we'll talk about it more, I guess, when we get into the movie. But the reasoning for that is like, Sholay is honestly like the cult classic film of Bollywood. I mean, it was shown in theaters for years. Like it never left. It kept showing for years. It kind of was the kickoff for Amitabh Bachchan's his career. This was like the starting point of it. I mean, this was a huge thing. I was reading and it was kind of saying like, this is the Star Wars of Bollywood. Like that's how important this movie is. So I'm really excited that we chose to watch it and that we get to talk about it right now.
Yeah, and it's very interesting that you compare it to Star Wars. I mean, this film is really a trendsetter for Bollywood films in the sense that, as we were saying in the opening, as I had mentioned, that this film has so many different genres incorporated all into one, that we've got romance, we've got drama, we have got action, we have even plays on famous American films incorporated into this film. And it's interesting how they play on that, and I think it's fun as someone who knows the movies that they're sort of riffing on and sort of playing homage to in this movie. It's interesting to see them do that in this film. This film's from 1975, and to see scenes in this movie where they're kind of ripping from other famous American films.
Not even American. Like, I mean, kind of as we talk. So this film is kind of called a curry western, right? It's like a spaghetti western. As you're saying, there's just lots of different genres involved. Another term they use to describe this film is masala. And that just means that there's no one genre, right? It's a lot. But when I was doing research and things, a lot of the inspiration came from Sergio Leone, his Once Upon a Time in the West, and Akira Kurosawa's Seven Samurai. So like what they're pulling from isn't even just American movies. It's Japanese.
Well, I wouldn't say it's only American. As you're saying, you know, they've got those influence, but also you can see in a later scene where, let me start dropping character names now.
Thakur?
As we get the main characters of this movie, Jai and Veeru, they have a scene much later in the movie where they end up in a prison, and the leader of the prison, I will say, is kind of modeled after, well, he's sort of modeled after Adolf Hitler, but this is also a play on Charlie Chaplin.
Yeah, definitely. No, you're totally right. Like those classic things, the way, yeah, that guy. Definitely his look was, with the mustache, was modeled after Hitler, but his physical comedy was very Charlie Chaplin.
Which that is a film in itself, where Charlie Chaplin is Adolf Hitler.
Yeah. You're right. So just lots and lots of influences on this movie. And then from that, this movie influenced like tons and tons of movies after it, you know? So it's an important movie, people. Go watch Sholay.
There's an article that I actually was reading from the University of Iowa online. It was an article that was written on Indian cinema from the University of Iowa, and it had mentioned that first time, well, let me go back here. It had mentioned that, quote, first time Western viewers sometimes find such combinations indigestible a disquieting emotional roller coaster ride through genre terrains that properly belong to 3 or 4 different films. Another unsettling trait is the Indian filmmaker's apparent tendency to quote motifs or images from Western cinema's, Sholay's pop critical label Curry Western, and its obvious citations of Charlie Chaplin's Sergio Leone, Sam Peckinpah, and of Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
Oh, Butch Cassidy. Yeah, definitely see that too. The whole Western thing.
You can see and that's the article. You can see the Butch Cassidy reference later in the film as well, when you can see the characters of Jai and Veeru smoking cigarettes together.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to stop myself real quick and just let me go on and preface all of this, wind up all of this stuff we've been talking about.
We're going to be all over the place just because this movie is like all over the place. So stick with us, people.
Let me start this by saying this once again. This is a very long film, and there's a lot of content, and I want to wrap it all up by saying, let me just tell you the plot. Let me just tell you what this movie's about.
Basic summary.
Let me give you a
synopsis.
Let me give you a synopsis here. In the village of Ramgarh, retired police chief Thakur Baldev Singh plots to bring down the notorious bandit Gabbar Singh and enlists the help of 2 lesser criminals, as we spoke about, Jai and Veeru. When Gabbar attacks the village, however, Jai and Veeru wonder why Thakur does nothing to help them. They soon learn that he has no arms, and that Gabbar was the one who cut them off. Enraged by this, they redouble their efforts to help. So with that being said, as we were talking about, Jai and Veeru are kind of our 2 main squeezes in this.
And they are the best of friends.
They are the best of friends.
Can we talk about the song that kind of just sets up their relationship? I don't remember the name of the song. But when they're in the motorcycle and the sidecar, and it's just like so happy and jolly, and they're pretty much just like, we're the best friends. I love you. I'd do anything for you.
Yeah.
I love it.
Felt like a 10-minute song,
that
too.
scene, though, made me so happy.
I mean...
And I think it's it's just that scene is so happy, and then later in the movie we have such this like depressing scene that we'll get to with the same two characters. That just goes to show you how many genres and how crazy this movie is too, that you can have such like a wide range of emotions going on. But I loved the opening song with them on the motorcycle together.
But this movie opens with Thakur and his, police. It's not even really, he's not even with the police anymore in the opening. He opens this in his little area, his little home, or whatever you want to call it. He's talking to some corporate officer or something, and they're like, so how do you want to catch Gabbar? And he's like, we need the help of these 2 guys, Veeru and Jai. And the other man is telling Thakur, like, those 2 are criminals themselves. Why would you want to hire them? And his response is essentially, well, let me tell you why I want those 2.
Flashback.
Yeah. So we get a flashback to him, Thakur, being a police chief on a train with Jai and Veeru. And on the train, Jai and Veeru they're being chased by Thakur, aren't they? I think.
Well, no, they've already been captured.
Oh.
So Thakur already captured them, and he's transporting them to like the jail essentially on the train.
But then the train is being heisted.
The train is then attacked by bandits.
Yeah.
And they're way outnumbered, and Jai and Veeru are like, set us free and we'll help you.
Yeah, and so then Thakur agrees. He shoots off the handcuffs, and then
the 3 of them hold off the bandits, essentially, right?
Yeah.
And I think, and that's why it's kind of explaining, right, why Thakur wants Jai and Veeru, because he's like, yes, they're criminals, but like they're good men. They have morals to a sense. Yeah. Because like they helped me beat off these bandits.
Yeah.
And he's like, and I know they're strong, and I know they're capable of, catching Gabbar for me.
Now, I thought that train scene was interesting because it reminded me as I watched it that this is 1975. They're not using computer graphic imagery at this time, and they had a furnace blasting on that train, and they were about to shove somebody's face in there.
Yeah, no, can you imagine this movie? Even like, I mean, we could talk later about the end scene and what happened during that filming. But yeah, you're saying like there wasn't a lot, there's no CGI. Like it was really just stunt doubles, like literally doing this stuff.
Yeah,
Like,
they
how
had a
dangerous
flaming
was
furnace on that train, just bolstering fire, and they are doing action scenes right in front of the furnace, and some of the action was threatening to shove someone's head into the flame, and they were just about in there. They were shoving their head right into the furnace.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking as I'm watching this, like, yeah, you're about to shove his head into a fire.
This like I can't even imagine filming this. I did see it took like 20 days just to film the train scenes.
Yeah, on an
Which
actual...
doesn't seem like a lot of time, honestly, when you think about that scene and how much was going on. Like, wow, they really got that done in 20 days.
And they're on a moving train, so...
Yeah. It's just, again, just watch the movie, people.
Yeah, these are things where, again, now you might just get on a lot or something and make it look like a moving train or whatever.
Right, they're not actually on one.
Right. I can imagine, too, though, in contemporary society that I'm certain that film directors may probably still think, I want an actual train.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm sure. But
we now have the option to be talking with our production companies and things like that and be like, we could find a way to just make this look this way. In 1975, it's no. We need a train. We need a moving train.
We have to actually do this.
Or we need horses. We need to be on the back of a
the
horse.
poor horses in this movie.
Yeah, that too. The stunts that they had with horses and the fight on top of horses and things like that. Those live horses had to actually fall and had to actually fall over.
Poor things. Anyway, the train scene was intense though.
Yes.
And it reminded me a lot of Westerns, like, old school American, Clint Eastwood, or I was going to say John Wayne Gacy, but that's a serial killer. What's his name? John Wayne. Just John Wayne, right?
Yes.
Just him.
Not John Wayne Gacy.
Just John Wayne.
Two very different people.
Classic John Wayne Westerns. Sorry. That's
no,
what
Lord.
the train scene reminded me of.
Stop watching the murder shows.
I just love murder shows, so that's why I'm like, in my mind, I was like, John Wayne Gacy. I'm like, no, that's not right.
Just John Wayne.
Ow! Hit the light.
Some more interesting things about this movie that you wouldn't see in other movies, American movies, I will say. Another interesting thing I noticed was smoking warnings that would pop up throughout the movie. Why? Why was that, Bollywood? Why are you showing us these?
I'm sure India had also in the 70s much stricter laws about what could be shown and what could not. Because, I mean, the ending that we saw isn't even the original ending of the movie. I don't know if you saw that, Adam, and we can get to it later, but they had to change a lot of things for the government to be like, this movie can actually be shown. And I'm sure smoking in films at the time was like, a bad thing. And that's why they had to put the warning up, the little warning in the corner that's like, smoking is dangerous.
I will say through my research, they have a lot of different articles online about smoking in film in India. And I believe in 2005, they had a incredible ban on smoking in film in India. And I'm not sure how that still holds up today. I don't believe
something
that's
we'll
still
have to look into,
holding up, but I will certainly look into that. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna do some research on that.
But I'm sure in the 70s they had much stricter rating rules and things like that.
Yeah, I would definitely like to learn more about that. I would like to know about what the ban was or how that's still relevant, if it's still holding up now since 2005. there was an article that I did see
I'm trying
online
to
about
think
that.
other Bollywood movies we've watched if we've seen like smoking in it.
Because we have seen many more recent ones.
I know. Was there
since
smoking in
2005.
Suryavanshi? That's the most like the one I feel like would be most likely to have smoking in it. I don't know. Maybe we'll definitely have to look into this.
Yeah, we certainly will. One other thing, as we're talking about the technical side of Sholay, that I wanted to bring up, just from my perception, the sound effects in this movie at times. I'm sorry, but when you drop a gun on the ground, it should not just sound like you're dropping a piece of wood on another piece of wood. I understand this is 1975. It might have been a little tricky to do sound design back then,
But
other sounds sounded fine in the movie.
the other thing though was sometimes the footsteps were so loud.
Oh yeah,
and you're like, what is he wearing? Tap shoes? Like it's like donk donk.
yeah. And then the scene when they dropped the guns on the ground.
Yeah, and it was
everyone
like
drop your guns. It's
gunk.
like gunk 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 gunk. I'm thinking that's not what a gun should sound like when you drop it on the ground. A gun has more than just wood to it. It's wood and other objects that are part of it, the metal and everything else.
Yeah.
And the
There was a
ground
few
is also
funky
not
sound.
made of wood. The ground is not a giant plank. They are outside on grass and dirt, and it just sounds like one piece of wood falling onto another piece of wood. Just gulk.
Yeah, there were definitely some sound effects that were a little misplaced.
So that was interesting. But let's go back to talking about the characters in this movie, and we'll start with where we had began to explain this movie. Thakur, the sheriff, in the introduction of this movie, we see him standing there with a shawl wrapped around him, which is already an interesting introduction in itself, as if he's standing there just explaining what's going on. And not to be too harsh on Thakur, but he's standing there like he woke up from a nap or something, you know?
I don't know, though.
Like,
I felt like he seemed very imposing, just like very stoic, but very serious and like very intense.
well, I mean, it's a very aggressive look on his face.
Yeah.
Just kind of like something's going on.
like he
But,
seems like a powerful man, at least to me.
I mean, I was watching it thinking, like, is this a blanket wrapped around him or something? But then I realized, okay, no, that he's wearing a shawl. Like, he's got something going on. And then as I continued to watch the movie, then I had the realization very quickly, like, okay, there's something going on with his arms.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Then I realized, okay, like it's making much more sense, much more quickly now. Like he's got something going on with his arms. And then you see when we've got a scene much later, as I had mentioned in the plot, where there's a gun in front of him, and of course he can't use his arms. Like it just makes sense. So as he's standing there and he's got this shawl wrapped around him and he can't use his arms, of course he's getting asked about this by Jai and Veeru. Like, why are you not picking up that gun? You could have shot the guy. And that
I'm done with it.
that would piss me off too if I was Thakur and he explains to everyone, tells them all, well, you want to know why I didn't pick up that gun? And he removes the shawl and everyone behold, he had his arms cut off by the one and only
Gabbar.
the one and only Gabbar.
Yeah, I think though, I mean, before we even get to that part, I don't think we've even talked enough about Jai and Jai.
I think it's Jai.
Jai and Veeru. So Thakur finds them and they come to this village and he explains to them, like, I will give you all this money. I want you to help me capture Gabbar. Not to kill him. I want him alive. And so they then are staying in this town with him and coming up with a plan to try and catch Gabbar. But of course, while they're in the town, both of them get their eyes set on a lovely lady that they see. And Jay, his romance is like very downplayed, right? He kind of loves a widow, Thakur's widowed daughter-in-law, and it's a very quiet like relationship between them though. They don't talk much. It's just they kind of see each other and are like, we are meant to be. And then on the complete other side of that, we have Veeru and Basanti is like this lively chatterbox who just like talks all the time and is just so overwhelming. But for some reason, Veeru is just like enchanted by her. And they have this like cute little cat and mousey relationship, right? Where Veeru keeps trying to pursue her and she just kind of pushes him away. And they have, you know, like a holy, that whole musical number, which is really great. And the two of them are really like playing off of each other. And it even gets to the point where Veeru asks, Jai does it for him. He goes to Basanti's aunt and says that Veeru would like to marry Basanti, and the aunt's like, no. And then there's that whole scene, if you remember, Adam, where Veeru is up on the water tower drunk and saying like he's gonna end his life because he can't be with Basanti, and he's so upset about it. And you know, we have this like it's not funny because, you know, suicide is not a funny thing, but the way that they do it in the movie is trying to offset it by doing comedy. And you have like the aunt and Basanti on the ground like, don't do it, we'll agree, you can marry her, you know. And I guess that was kind of inspired by like real life too, by the writers of this movie, something that they had experienced, which I think is interesting. But yeah, I just liked Veeru and Basanti's relationship and chemistry, I guess, with each other throughout the movie. And actually, fun fact, this movie had like romance between the four leading characters. So Amitabh and Jaya, who were a couple, you know, in the movie, they actually married in real life like 4 months, I think, before this film. They started filming this movie, and she was actually pregnant with their first child while they were filming. And then at first or second, I think first, if they had only been married 4 months before. And then, I mean, in all honesty, like Dharmendra, who played Veeru, he really only took the role as Veeru because he knew he would be opposite of Hema, who is playing Basanti. And he had a really big crush on her. He was like pursuing her in real life. So literally, he only took the role as Veeru so that he could be in scenes with her. And he would even like pay the light boys in the movie to mess up scenes so that they would have to do retakes so he could spend more time with the actress who was playing Basanti. And lo and behold, they got married like 5 years after the movie came out. So it's like, it's really cute. Their relationship, he forced it
Oh my
throughout
God.
the movie. But, you know, both like the two main relationships in the movie were actually real relationships in real life.
That is very interesting. That's very strange.
I thought it was a cute, fun fact.
That is a fun fact, how that all plays out. It's two lovers uniting.
4 lovers.
Well, yeah, 4 lovers. Yeah. I should say 2 couples uniting.
Yeah.
Yeah, very crazy how that all comes together after a film is made.
Yeah. And then, as we're at this point at the movie, you're talking about, we realize that Thakur has lost his arms. And the reason that we get a flashback and we see that Gabbar and his men had slaughtered Thakur's whole family. And then Thakur had gone to him, you know, obviously because he killed his family. But Gabbar cut off his arms instead of him being able to do anything. And what I wanted to bring up, as we were talking earlier about how this movie pulled from so many other films, the scene where we see Thakur's family being murdered is like almost shot for shot in camera angle to camera angle, the exact same as the murder that happens in Sergio Leone's Once Upon a Time in the West. Like, I watched a YouTube video that was comparing the two scenes side by side, and literally you would see like the same kind of shots, like the same thing happening between the two movies.
That's pretty crazy. Yeah, it's interesting how one can find such inspiration from other people's work and then play on that for their own work. And just find not only influence, but even more so, I guess. You're just kind of like, well, I'm going to make that mine now.
Yeah.
You know, with that being said, that kind of play on other people's work, I want to bring up the music in this movie that was composed by R.D. Burman. He was our musical composer for this film. And I found that online through my research online, he was commonly known as the music scientist and the king of Bollywood music. I found that very interesting that they would refer to R.D. Burman as that. But he worked on a lot of different projects, and they also say online that he is considered to have been one of the greatest music composers of the Indian film industry. So with this movie, with Sholay, though, there was one thing that I thought was very, very interesting. And the thing that I found very interesting was that, and I quote this from an article that I pulled from, this is actually from Wikipedia, but they do have citations for this. But as was common in Hindi films, some of his songs featured the tunes of popular foreign songs. Often the filmmakers forced him to copy these tunes for the soundtracks, resulting in allegations of plagiarism. For example, Ramesh Sippy insisted that the tune of the traditional Cyprus song Say You Love Me, which was arranged and sung by Demis Roussos, be used for Mehbooba Mehbooba in Sholay.
So they not only scene, like cinematography wise, took very heavy inspiration from other things. They also did the same thing in the musical score.
And with that being said, you can tell actually if you listen to the song "Say You Love Me" by Demis Roussos and then listen to Mehbooba Mehbooba, you can definitely tell that Mehbooba Mehbooba is just a total rip of that song.
I mean, that's a bit problematic, but I guess they did what they wanted to do.
That's not to say that the entire score is. It's just that song definitely
specifically, yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. So they're ripping visually and musically.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that, but moving on.
Good job, Sippy.
Moving on. It's still a cult classic, and I will not talk any crap about it because it's always rated like one of the best Indian film, like Bollywood films of all time. So, I mean, we're not going to go against that.
Well, you know, there's more I gotta say about this movie.
We're only halfway through the plot, so yeah, we got more to say, people.
We got more to say. Well, let's talk about another character that I can't say enough about, Basanti.
I love her.
Because Basanti, she just can't shut up. And that's why I enjoy talking about her, because she can't stop talking about herself. Basanti, I thought it was funny because she just cannot stop talking on screen, and I loved that they wrote her character to be that way.
Yeah,
because
complete opposite of the other female lead who like barely says a word.
She just could not stop talking, and I thought it was hysterical that she couldn't stop talking. And then as she kept talking, her thing about that was that she would always say that she was not a chatterbox.
Yeah, and I'm no chatterbox, but
I thought that was hysterical because she would talk for about 5 or 10 minutes straight, literally just her, just talking and talking and talking, and then she would say that she's no chatterbox.
Yeah. I don't know. I loved her character, and I loved that Veeru was just so enamored by her.
Yeah, and he falls in love with her.
Yeah, it was great.
And the fact that he thinks that she's this most wonderful character, he just falls head over heels for her. I'm watching this thinking, why are you falling in love with her?
That's mean, Adam. I talk a lot.
You are not like Basanti.
But okay, we're almost to this part of the plot, so we'll just go to it anyway. She is not just a chatterbox, though. She is like a heart of gold, and she is such a strong woman. I mean, look at how she always helps out the blind man in the village, right? Like, she always stops whatever she's supposed to be doing to help him out. And then, so we're getting to the part, so I'll just kind of talk about it. Things kind of come to a head after we learn that Thakur doesn't have any arms anymore. And Gabbar, like, kills one of the young men who is in the village, and Jay and Veeru are just like, we're gonna get him. And then Basanti and Veeru are actually captured by Gabbar, and Veeru is like tied up, and Gabbar says he's gonna kill him unless Basanti dances for him. So then we have this scene where you see Basanti like how strong she is, right? Because she's dancing to save Veeru, who she loves, even on top of like broken glass. Her feet are bleeding everywhere, but she keeps dancing to save him. Like, she's not just a chatterbox. She's so much more of a character. Like, she's such a great character in this movie.
Hey, that all makes it so much better for her character. I'm saying when she's first introduced, all she is at that point is a chatterbox. When she first comes into this
Veeru
film.
likes a strong, talkative woman, obviously. You know?
I'm just saying, her first introduction in this movie is her driving a horse, talking her brains out, and that's it. And at that point, if that was my first introduction to somebody's character, is just a nonstop talking. Well, I take back everything I'm saying right now. I'd probably be like, you know what, this is fun.
Yeah, I was just saying, I talk a lot. You like me. Like, I feel like
you just don't
you're
stop.
You're saying she's a lot, but honestly, I feel like you would like her.
I'm just sitting horseback with someone who's just like, yeah.
And you would probably be like, this person's interesting. Don't lie. Don't lie, Adam. You would.
All right, peace out, Laura. I gotta go sit with someone who just doesn't shut up for 15 minutes straight. And I'm like, yep, this is good. I like this.
Yeah, you're the one that talks the most in our relationship.
I'm no
so
chatterbox.
I guess it's the other way.
I'm no chatterbox.
You're Basanti and I'm Veeru.
I gotta go walk the cats across the street and help them get to their meow mix, and then I gotta go tap dance my way out of a. I'm no chatterbox.
Anyway. Basanti and Veeru are captured by Gabbar, but we haven't even really talked about Jai. I don't know which way it is. I'm sorry.
Both are acceptable.
Yeah, whatever. Amitabh's character, he's like the strong, silent anti-hero of this movie.
He is the Butch Cassidy.
Yeah, and he's such a good actor, and I'm so glad he was cast in this film. I know he had to really push to actually get casted in this movie, but this kind of set off his career, and he's he's one of the biggest Bollywood names now, I would say. But his character is just so strong and silent, and he comes in to save the day. And this is where things start to get intense and really sad.
Well, I mean, at times with his silence, it seems like he just doesn't give a crap about Veeru. Sometimes it comes off that way.
But that you can tell that it's not the case. Veeru and him are brothers, And as we're getting to this point, he saves Basanti and Veeru from Gabbar, but then they get kind of stuck in a spot and there's a shootout and someone needs to take Basanti to safety, right? And someone needs to stay behind. And Veeru and Jay are both no, I'll stay. And they flip a coin, which is something they do kind of throughout the movie to decide who's going to stay or not, which is very much what's his name's character in No Country for Old Men. As I was saying, the coin flipping is not a novel idea for that movie because here we go. We got coin flipping again. But anyway, and, it lands where Jay is staying. So and we learn later that it was the coin, both sides had heads on it. So he cheated the system to stay. So essentially he sacrificed himself for Veeru and Basanti to be able to get away and to live.
And then Veeru wants to take out Gabbar all on his own, and he almost does.
Because Jay is killed. If I didn't really say that, but Jay is killed.
He dies in his arms.
It's
all
so
sad.
And actually that big scene right there at the end where they actually used real bullets while they were filming that scene, and reportedly Amitabh almost got shot. He dodged a bullet while filming that scene.
My God.
I know. Can you imagine?
They are not taking safety into
No, they
thought.
They use real bullets? Are you kidding me? I would have been no, I will not be filming this scene.
Yeah.
But anyway, Jai, whichever one, Amitabh's character gets hit and he dies in Veeru's arms, and it's so sad. I was upset about it.
And then Veeru basically almost takes out Gabbar, and then all of a sudden Thakur shows up and he's like, no, give him to me.
I need to delve out my punishment.
Yeah.
And Thakur's got these fancy shoes on.
Yeah, Gabbar's like, what are you going to do to me with no arms, huh? And then Thakur's like, yeah, well, I'm going to kick you to death.
But on the bottom of his shoes, he's got all these little metal spikes.
Yeah.
And he's stomping on him with these. It's intense.
And Gabbar thinks that it's just some kind of joke or something. But
right, and then he's like, oh, shit.
Thakur literally kicks his ass.
Yeah. But he doesn't kill him. The police show up, and Gabbar is taken into custody by the police.
Which is actually, ironically, kind of disappointing.
Well, and so this is something we need to talk about. That's not the way the movie was supposed to end. Sippy originally wrote this in that Thakur would actually kill Gabbar. Like, and it was kind of violent, I guess. They actually filmed it that way. They filmed the ending that way, where Thakur killed him. But as we were talking about the censorship with smoking, again, the censorship, like the Indian censors watched this movie and they were like, we can't show this. Like, it's too violent. You know, it's not, like, it's too much. So they had to reshoot and change the ending where Gabbar is not killed.
It makes it a very interesting ending, though. Like,
yeah.
It really leaves the viewer thinking, you're really going to leave us with this faulty... I mean, it's
justice
politically,
is still
like...
given, right? Like, he is captured.
Yeah.
He's going to pay for his crimes. But it's not... And I think the Indian censors, you know, they didn't want people watching something and seeing, like, everyday people taking matters into their own hands. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, that's what it is. Where... you should obviously rely on the police because that's what they're here for. And that's why they had to change the ending.
I think as a viewer, though, you're probably watching that, and with the police taking him into custody, you're probably leaving that thinking, like, oh, is he really going to stay in jail?
In recent years, there has been the release of the director's cut, which does include that original ending of Thakur actually killing Gabbar. So maybe we'll have to find, if we can find like the ending scene of the original cut, or the director's cut, we'll say. And see that.
Does it still have Veeru getting on the train
at the end?
Yeah,
I would assume so. You know, because it's still like, you know, Jai still dies. That's still, I think, in the director's cut. It's just that Gabbar is killed.
That's crazy. I don't know. I kind of enjoy the fact that we don't get that resolution of Gabbar being murdered, because I expected to see Gabbar get murdered, and not getting that expectation fulfilled kind of leaves me with a little bit more joy, because now I'm looking back on the movie like, damn, that is too bad. And I enjoy that from movies when I don't get my expectations resolved.
Yeah.
Because then I think that it makes a drama film or a thriller film even more fulfilling, because
it's
then you walk away, you're like,
to it.
Dang,
you're like, oh.
yeah. You're like,
another level of
man.
complexity.
Yeah.
You're like, shit, like, I really thought I was going to go this way, but it didn't.
Yeah. You're like, wow, I really thought that this was going to be resolved, and it wasn't. Like, there's even more depth to this. Dang.
Sorry, finish your thought.
No, I was just going to say, now Thakur, the retired sheriff, basically, you know, or I guess he's not retired, but it's like he can't exactly be a police chief anymore. But now he has to, you know, continue to live idly, knowing that Gabbar is just going to be off in some jail cell. If he escapes, he could escape again. He could escape jail again. And that's what I was thinking when I finished the movie. It's like they could tell Gabbar, you're going to be in jail for X amount of time, but then some bandit could just come and be like, yep, we'll get you out.
Yeah. I was just going to talk about the actor who played Gabbar, Amjad Khan. He was great. And actually, his portrayal of Gabbar was so good. He's such a villain. And I was reading actually that the character of Gabbar actually became so famous after this movie that Britannia Biscuits made a commercial with Amjad Khan as Gabbar of him like eating biscuits, and it like doubled their sales. And it was the first time ever that a villain was used in like advertising in India.
He just reminded me of Fidel Castro, so
the way he looked, yes, was but the acting in this movie, man, like everyone was just, it was so good, especially the man who played Gabbar.
It was just that outfit that he had.
Yeah, it was, I mean, he was a bandit. He had that bandit-y outfit.
Yeah.
I think he's even more than a bandit. I think the word that they use is like I don't know how to pronounce it, but he's a bad man.
He's a bad man.
He's a bad man. Well, that gets us through the whole movie. I think I even gave all my fun facts already. I mean, the biggest thing was like how the four main people were actually in love in real life and kind of how their love story came around. This movie since we're done, we can just kind of start talking about like its legacy. As we mentioned in the beginning, like it was shown in theaters for years. It's a cult classic. It's always named like one of the best Bollywood or Indian films of all time. And actually it was such a hit, like when the movie came out, that they came out with audio cassette tapes of the dialogue, and people bought up these audio cassette tapes, and they just listen to the dialogue like while they're doing like their day-to-day chores and activities.
That's pretty crazy.
Like that, can you just like the impact that this film has had on like culture and daily life in India? It's amazing. It's crazy how popular this movie was, or still is, we'll say.
Mm-hmm. Well, with all of that being said, I think that rolls us into our reviews section of our episode. And on that note, taking a look at some of the reviews for this movie, Rotten Tomatoes is telling us with Sholay, the critics have got this at a 92%, and the audience scores got this at a 95%.
No surprise.
Yeah, no surprise. It's not 100%, but...
Does anything have 100?
Yeah, actually.
Oh.
But, I mean, who's judging on that kind of caliber? Let's be real here. Just having 92 and 95 should already tell us something.
Mm-hmm.
The movie is pretty high caliber.
But surprisingly, when it literally first came out, the initial reviews were not that great. Like, in the first week, the critics were kind of like, meh, meh. But then people, like, audience members started to watch it, and like word of mouth just spread, and that's how the movie like boomed. And then critics came back and were like, oh, actually, like, no, this is great.
I'm pretty sure that's exactly what the audience said too. They watched the movie, walk out.
But I mean, that kind of goes to show, I mean, this movie only won one Filmfare award for best editing. Like, it didn't win any, which Filmfare, for those of you who are in the North America, Filmfare is kind of like the Oscars for Bollywood or like Indian films. And yeah, it only won one. Like, even though it's seen as like the best movie of a Bollywood movie of all time, it actually only won one. But I think it's probably because it initially didn't have a great start, and then it kind of like boomed later.
But hey, it won something.
It won something.
It won
and
something.
And now it's literally on every list. Whenever something is like list is made of best Bollywood or best Indian film, like it literally tops every single list. So
yeah. And on that note, I say it's time that Laura and I talk about this with our slurps up or our slurps down. Slurps up meaning we recommend this movie, we think that you should go watch it, and we think that you should take this all the way out to your Western hemisphere, the gunslinging West horseback ride, what have you. And slurps down, meaning you don't watch it. We think the movie's garbage, and I don't have a good conundrum for slurps down on this one. Laura, you got anything?
It's a slurps down. No, I'm not saying the movie is sorry. I was just saying slurps down means it's a down.
Laura, do you give this movie a slurps up or a slurps down?
I don't think I have the capacity to ever give any Bollywood film a slurps down. They're so good. I think us in, what are we, Western culture, I think we are so blind and dumb that Bollywood films aren't more popular over here. I think so many people are missing out on so many good things. So obviously I'm giving this a slurps up. I think it is great. I think it really sets the stage for people who want to get into Bollywood, because you're definitely getting a big mix of a lot of genres, but you get the music and the dancing and you get the action and you really get everything that you need. So the acting, everything. Slurps up from me.
Yeah, so listen, just about everything Laura just said, I agree with. Slurps up from me. I think that if you're new to the Bollywood film genre, I would highly recommend this movie as a welcoming gateway into the world of Bollywood films. And I think this movie takes it wonderfully as an opening to not only Bollywood cinema, but also introducing you to other forms of cinema as well by including some famous styles of film from as we had mentioned earlier in this episode, from Sergio Leone, from Charlie Chaplin,
Akira
and
Kurosawa.
yes, yeah, absolutely. And you're getting these wonderful styles of, romantic cinema, dramatic action, and from this film being not from 1975, none of this is trying to fake you out or anything like that. None of this is computer graphic imagery. They are doing this all on the spot, right in front of you, and thankfully not live. It's in your television, but my gosh, it is so crazy that the things that they're doing in this movie. It's unbelievable, and let it be an inspiration a little bit to the fact that if you wanted to make a movie, they could pull this off in 1975. It is crazy to see that something like this was a starting point in 1975, and look how we have evolved to where we are now with Bollywood in 2022. So yeah, I'd absolutely recommend this movie as a reference point and a starting point to watch this movie. And then watch more now. Newer Bollywood films today. So definitely slurps up on this film.
Mm-hmm.
And that wraps it up for this episode of Screen Slurps. Be sure to follow us on social media at Screen Slurps on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok. And be sure to listen to us on Spotify, Ghana, or any other podcast streaming service out there. And if you enjoy what you hear, slide on over to Apple Podcasts and give us a 5-star rating. It will help us a lot. And if there's any crazy movies that you want to hear about, let us know.
Please.
Leave a comment on one of our social media pages, and trust me when I say we will be sure to talk about it. So, closing out, I'm Adam Meisner.
And I'm Laura Herlocker.
Slurps up, and we will catch you later.
Laters.